Hello, my name is Thomas Misano, and today is May 5th, 2018, and today I'd like to talk about Hitachi Content Monitor and the dashboards that are included with the product. Now, to connect to your Hitachi Content Monitor, you would do so via URL using HTTPS and the port 6162. And at that point, you'll have a login screen. And then once you log in, you'll have three tiles, which will be dashboards, monitors, and sources. Today, we're going to be talking about only dashboards. And in the dashboard, there are application breakdown, application load, resources, storage objects, and any custom dashboards that you may want to create. The monitors I will not be talking about today, but this allows you to create monitors from source metrics to maybe send emails or alerts. And then the sources are actually the HCPs that we're collecting metrics from. So there are two of them, and it looks like ENG, ARK, and Ironman are the ones providing the dashboards with metrics. So let's log in. So once we enter the URL, we're presented with the login screen. I'm going to use the local account, but if you had Active Directory integration, you would be able to select the domain that you wanted from this dropdown. Now to configure for domain, you would go into your HCI via port 8000 and go into the administration, system configuration, security, and set up identity providers of Active Directory to integrate Active Directory into HCI, which is the backend of Content Monitor. So let me log in. Okay, so as I said, three tiles, dashboards, monitor, sources. They're also available over on your left. So if we look into dashboards, we can view, and we'll see each of those dashboards that I talked about, but by HCP. So there is the engineering ARC application breakdown, engineering ARC application load, engineering ARC resources, engineering ARC storage and objects. And then the same thing for Ironman. And then it looks like someone created their own dashboard down here, security events. So you can also create your own dashboard, and to do that, pick one that you want to make a copy of, and you can click on it and say clone. Now towards the end of this video, I go through how I might troubleshoot a problem of latency that a customer had, and you'll see me jump from application breakdown to application load dashboards. So maybe you want to create your own dashboard that has charts and graphs from both of those in one dashboard. This is how you would be able to do it. You would clone it, and then you would be able to create a dashboard that has your specific charts and graphs. So let's look into the engineering ARC application breakdown. So here we see graphs and charts. Now, keep in mind that this is a live view, meaning it's showing you for the last hour from 10:57 to 11:57. And this will update automatically every minute. You'll see this chart shift from right to left. Now you can change what you're looking at. We can look at the overall day starting at midnight. I may want to check in on this during my lunch break or at the end of the day just to get a feel of the overall health of the system. I could also go to the last 3 days. I could use this as well to look over overall system health or look back during a trouble time, so I can look at the last 3 days. Or I can go to a very specific custom date and time if I was trying to identify a problem. So what I like is the charts on the right where I can get an overall feel of how the distribution of workload operations per nodes, and this looks pretty even here, but don't forget I'm looking at this large date range here. So let's go back maybe to live, and I could look at live data today. So now we can see the nodes are still even here in operations. This is 4,000 operations within the time frame that we selected above. So the 1 hour window, this is total operations per node in that window. Now as we go down and we look at operations by tenant, we can see there's about 16,000 operations here. And this is again over the 1 hour window, and it's all in the engineering tenant. And keep in mind that the graph on the left is per second. The charts on the right are over the total time span that we selected up above. As we go down to operations by type, we get to see that the puts are about 5.6 thousand, heads are going to be about 5.7, the gets are 3.1, and the posts are 2,000. Going down to operations by response, we'll see that we have 404s not found, 200s are okay, and 221s are the puts. And last but not least is the gateway or the protocol, and it is primarily REST. Okay, now also let's look at application load. We can look at the application load. There's a lot more than we can do than just look at these graphs. So let's maximize one graph, and we see only this graph. Now we can use Legend to filter some of the things that we see. So maybe we just want to see the maximum, and we get to see just the maximum. So we can also look at refine to drill down farther. So refine gives us configurable parameters, so we can look at an individual node if we wanted to, a specific protocol, a request method. So maybe we're going to look at just the puts, and then we click update. So now it changes it so that we are only seeing the puts. So we can see here the put throughput was about 48 meg per second. We could look at other things, right? This is the average and then medium. So we can also, again, filter out on some of these. Let's look at just the maximum. So we can also see from the request method that we have one filter set, and that is the request method of put. We can also move this back and reset it very easily to get it back to the defaults by clicking reset. And it'll push us back to the defaults. And we can minimize this again. So we've looked at application operations, application load. So now we can look at cluster resources. So now looking at cluster resources, we can see CPU utilization. So keep in mind we have 4 nodes at 100% each. That's 400% for the whole cluster. And then we have connections, I/O, front end, back end, disk I/O, and disk utilization here. And then also we can go back and look at storage utilization. So now, again, I like these charts on the side. We can kind of see how the storage is being distributed on each node by each tenant. So we can see engineering is the largest tenant here. Who has the most objects? So it looks like engineering, once again, has 6 million objects. And then we have the same graphs over on the left-hand side so we could see trends. And again, you can use all of these legends and refinements on all of these charts and graphs. So that concludes my overview of all of the dashboards included in Hitachi Content Monitor. You may have an application owner complaining that their application is running slow. So to look at that, you might want to go to Application Load, and then I would look at latency. So we need to change the range to what the customer said he had a problem with. So he told us it was today, and it was between 6:30 and 7 a.m. So we can change this to 6:30 and 7 a.m. So sure enough, it looks like we had a peak here at about 6:55 of 15 minutes and 25-second maximum. That was the maximum latency there. That's pretty interesting. So the next thing I might want to look at is the operation size during that. So that's down here. Let's look at the operation size. So it looks like right around 6:53, 6:54, looks like someone is doing something with about 45 gig. So they're putting it or getting it or something's happening there. So let's also look at operations per second. So it was only 24 operations. So it looks like that was probably a big file that they either did a get or a put from. But let's continue to investigate this. So let's go back to the application breakdown. We have to reset the date and time on this screen to 6 again. So that's today. 6, 7. So the good news is that we're getting equal workload across all the nodes, it looks like at that time, 655. The operations look like they are being focused on the engineering tenant. And the type looks like we're getting heads and puts. That's interesting, 11,000 heads, 11,000 puts. The response was, looks like 201s, which is a put, and a 404, which is not found. So that's interesting. And we can look at the protocol is a REST protocol. So it looks to me like engineering tenant has a client that is doing puts, the 45 gig files or 45 gigs worth of data on the HCP during that time frame. So this could be something that's normal. Maybe they're doing a code dump at this time, and if they're seeing the latency and it's unacceptable, maybe we want to change the way their application puts data on the HCP. Maybe it does so in smaller chunks. So that's one way of looking at a problem that you may be having with one of your applications. That concludes my video. I hope you found it helpful, and thank you and have a great day.